Cool. So, Sam, great to have you back on our YouTube channel for our audience. Obviously, you guys are doing a lot of cool features, feature updates, feature releases. Seems almost weekly now, and I struggle to keep up despite seeing you every week. But the team's growing. I know you're making a lot of noise in sort of the Salesforce ecosystem. So great to have you back on, discuss a little bit more about I guess your phone first approach, how the team's growing, and also understand a little bit more about some of these exciting features. I know there's maybe some stuff you can't tell, so we'll leave that as a teaser for now. But yeah, co-founder of Rocket Phone for Everyone, Sam, great to have you on. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be back on again. And to be honest, I can't keep up with everything that's been released as well. So I have to go pay diligent attention to all these engineering stand-up calls because otherwise I'd completely lose track. And that's in a good way, but it's
Yeah,
an exciting time.
excellent, excellent. And so obviously people may know Rocket Phone as sort of a phone system, phone dialer, CTI, all the different terms people seem to just chuck in for different types of phone dialers these days. But you're still that sort of Salesforce specific phone system, right? And I know your team have taken like a really heavy phone first approach to their prospecting, to their outbound, and even just like with their customer interactions across the board. Like, I guess that shows you really wanted to live and breathe, I guess, what you sell from the off, right? And how is that? Why has that been such a focus?
Yeah, definitely live and breathe what you sell. You got to sell your product, but not just because of following that mantra, but because it genuinely is the better channel. But we've tried so many different orientations and versions of our outbounding process. Started, kind of cadence led. You email one day, drop a text the next day, do a social post the next day, and then eventually 5 or 6 steps down the line, you pick up a phone. It just wasn't working. You can't get any sort of personalization, no matter what the AI of these cadence tools claim to be able to do. It's not personalization. Telling you that there's a good restaurant near you that have you tried is not personalization, is it?
Yeah.
It's completely inhuman. No human would ever write that. And so what we immediately found, and obviously you're working with you, James, is a big advocate of the same. You get to the right people and be able to convey the right message far quicker when you pick up the phone. Now, I think the
Yeah.
reason why that has kind of gone out of fashion in a way is because it is harder. It takes skill, and I actually think BDRing, SDRing is probably one of the most hardest roles in that
Mm-hmm.
whole sales team department function. Take us, for example, our company. Not to do our AEs any discredit, but actually they have quite a nice job in
Yeah.
that
Cool.
when they demo Rocket Phone, it's sold 5 times out of 10. The hardest bit is getting the right people on the calls at the very beginning, and that's only made possible when you can pick up a phone and talk to someone to deliver a concise
Yeah.
message and actually speak to someone's specific pain points. And that could take 3 or 4 call attempts. It could take calling 5 other people within the company before you land on the message. But
Yeah.
it's, I think what we want to kind of see it as account prospecting, not individual prospecting. So you're getting information about an account so that finally, when you find that right person, you are so well equipped with all the information that you've gathered from all your conversations, you can deliver something that is so smack on point. Even they can't deny, yeah, you've called me out. Those are my pain points. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. And like that's why you guys have focused so heavily on your AI transcription, your real time surfacing of data, so that people can start to make, I guess, start to structure the unstructured data that comes out of conversations, and then you give that consistent effort, you give that information back to everyone. So every follow up, every next step, every single conversation is fully transcribed, summarized in the right places, which gives you that consistency, gives you that compound effect. And to your point before, like what, like it's a hard thing making lots of calls, and people are sometimes reluctant to do it because, as Jeremy from SalesBot put it the other week, you get that serotonin hit from I've been productive, I've built built this cadence. I can see it's going to go out to 1,000 people. It's going to be really good. That you get that serotonin, but you don't necessarily get it from making your 100 dials in a day, where you're struggling to make connections, and then you may not book a meeting. So the time to reward feels better, but in the long time it doesn't build your pipeline, and that's why I guess I see such value in the AI note taking and everything that you guys have done. Is that what you hear back from customers with all the real time stuff that you're doing?
It's what we hear back from customers and our own team, to be honest. Like to your point, yeah, $100 a day can be monotonous and arduous, but actually, I think you can equally get that serotonin hit from kind of that sleuthing approach when you are BDRing. Yes, you might not get that booking every day or two bookings every day, but I think there's equal satisfaction you can get from actually just having more and more conversations
Yeah,
based on the insights that you're getting through from your phone system and your conversation insights data. You know,
yeah,
every conversation you have using Rocket Phone feeds your central customer relationship management database, i.e.
mm-hmm.
Salesforce. So you have a growing picture of the person and the account, and you'll suddenly land on a moment and say, this is who I need to speak to. This is the message I'm going to deliver based on all the conversations we've had around the account. And then that in itself is a moment that you can think, yes, okay, I finally cracked it. Now
Yeah,
you've still got to go ahead and make the call and deliver it. But there are still lots of mini kind of serotonin hit levels that you get. And we've heard that from our own internal team and customers as well.
yeah, and it makes that, like, again, like from my perspective, where SDR teams go wrong is they just all think about, I need, like, book a meeting, book a meeting, book a meeting, book a meeting, and they see each call as that zero sum game. I've booked a meeting or I haven't. This person said yes or they didn't, and then they move on, try and find the next yes. And what actually we need to do, and good SDR leaders are doing, is they move those goalposts to, you actually need to establish some rapport, build some trust, and find like the next best outcome, the next best time to engage, next best time to pick up the phone again to this prospect. So that most people, you'll book on the third, fourth, fifth time of actually speaking to them on the phone. So the ability, and that relies on really good note taking. Obviously, it relies on good conversational skills, but good note taking and following up, and that's where people can go wrong. So that AI transcription, that note taking in real time, that your solution can provide straight in to the record in Salesforce, again, remove some of that friction and some of like that lost information, so they can see, oh, actually, I've had this many conversations. They could search through all of their conversations for certain things. They can follow up way more better and more accurately.
Yeah, literally, interrogate the Rocket Phone platform. When do I need to call this person back? Oh,
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, you agreed to call them back in Q4. There.
yeah,
In fact, we've already teed up a callback task for you in Salesforce automatically based off what the conversation you've had. You know what will never be able to do that? A power dialer. That will never give you the nuance and detail of those specific times where you've got to call back.
mm-hmm.
If you're sprinting through a list and so it's, oh, no, it sounds interesting, but calling back next quarter. What's happening to that?
Yeah,
Really what's happening to that. So yeah, we want to make sure that it's not just those black and white, yes, meeting booked or not calls. Every conversation has insight. That's
yeah.
what we believe, and it should live in Salesforce.
A lot of dialers, playing devil's advocate, right? Like a lot of dialers now do the transcription. They can do some analytics on the call. Why does Rocket Phone, I guess, like, or the Rocket Phone suite, do that better, or how does it compare to competitors who may also have some transcription?
Well, in terms of straight apples to apples, I defy anyone to have a better accurate transcription service than we run. So that's first of all. Secondly, as you pointed out, James, that we focus solely on Salesforce as the integration platform that we work alongside. There's good reasons for this. One, obviously, Salesforce is a massive ecosystem and market. So, from our point of view, it's we can make the size of company we need to off that ecosystem alone. But
Mm-hmm.
secondly, we never want to be a jack of all. We want to be a master of one, a master of Salesforce.
Yeah,
and Salesforce specifically, above all many other CRMs, it's so powerful. That can often be construed as clunky and cumbersome, but in the right hands and in the right enterprise, it's an incredibly powerful piece of kit because of those virtues.
Yeah.
And if you're just pushing a transcript into the notes field, or light integration that others might do, yeah, it's just more information that's never going to get acknowledged or read. Who actually listens to call recordings, who actually reads transcripts. So
Yeah.
by integrating so deeply in Salesforce and making that the only one we do integrate with, we can do a lot of cool stuff with the insights we garner from the transcripts. For example, transcript, great, but actually what you want is to be able to get some quantitative data out of those conversations. So actually picking out key moments in conversation. When was the buying signal? What competitor mention did they mention? How many times was that mentioned? What was the compelling event date that they mentioned? All stuff that's usually stuck up here, but
Yeah.
actually it's now concrete data points which you can go ahead and report on. You get
Yeah.
to see a trend across your whole team, organization, of what's trending conversation wise. But actually, those bookmarks, as we call it, you can actually use that as trigger objects in Salesforce to go ahead and do stuff. So once
Yeah.
you've recognized that there's a buying signal or a competitor's been mentioned, go away and notify marketing.
Mhm.
That competitor A is having a sudden boost in mentions from our customers and prospects. What's going on there? Go and have a look. Or a
Yeah.
product request that keeps coming through. Go notify product marketing. So that feedback loop was never there because a sales guy or a service guy is not incentivized to feed that back. But
Yeah.
if it's the system doing it systematically, then everyone's an absolute Salesforce master without them even trying.
Yeah.
And the final thing I think that we just shows that, in my humble opinion, we're head and shoulders above everyone else, is that it's that real time element of what we're doing in transcription as well. So once we hear something, we can actually render information to the rep in real time.
Yeah.
So using that competitor mention example, oh, you mentioned competitor A. This is our kill sheet for competitor A. Oh, they mentioned B. This is it for competitor B.
And it can also do that across the information within Salesforce.
Certainly, yes. So you'll have, maybe case objects or your knowledge base stored in Salesforce, or even just past activity all stored in Salesforce. It can be drawing on that as well,
Yeah.
as the source of knowledge to bring through to the rep in real time. Say, okay, well, actually, a year ago they mentioned this on a case ticket that was being hidden away, but we're there servicing it and bring it to the rep in real time. And the final piece of the puzzle that we've just about closed, that you'll be able to see if this is going out anytime, might even be ready by then.
Next week.
But yeah, well, then it might even be ready by then. But so I've been talking about using bookmarks to trigger flows and maybe bring up a new task creation modal or a new opportunity. That's great, that's useful, but you still got to input the information.
Yeah.
We've now closed that loop, so all you have to do is continue talking, and Rocket Fair will actually populate all the fields in that given object in real time as you're talking, completely hands-free. So it knows the fields that are in that object, and will, based off what you said, just allocate which field needs to be populated. So truly, there will not be any more admin after you have a Rocket phone call.
Amazing. That obviously, like, SDRs hate admin. Like, note taking and stuff is so important, and I know that's where, like, there's probably been some good conversations and some success with agencies who, particularly, like, where agencies, mostly SDR agencies, but also marketing agencies and others, they're maybe doing some sales work on behalf of a customer, on behalf of a client. That's where this can also be really powerful, right? It gives them all of that automated, I guess, transcription and note taking, and just takes the element of an SDR saying to a client, this happened and this happened on the call, and they've forgotten the 5 other things that would have been really important, which means better service for clients, right?
Exactly, perfect use case, and that you probably even have a new custom object for summary sheet which you pass back to the client. That is based on that what I was just talking about can be automatically completed. So it's not just transcription and notes; it's an actual completed handover document that is completely accurate and without the bias of an SDI's memory or lack of.
Yeah,
And
or trying to sell the meeting.
yes, it's just genuine hard facts.
Exactly. And like, again, like coming back just to sort of SDRs and the pressure SDRs are under, what one of the things that makes it so hard is when they're taught like this black and white sort of result orientation, I guess, to call outcomes. I book a meeting or I don't. It puts so much pressure on that call that when even when they maybe have got someone to say yes to a meeting, they get happy ears, commission breath, whatever people want to call it, and they might not through any fault of their own. It's understandable how it happens, but they heard, oh yeah, loads of manual processes. They must really need a solution to fix that. It's not a problem unless the person, and this is the example I always use, like it's not a problem unless the person says like it slows them down if they find it frustrating, they want to do it a different way. And the ability of a solution to give greater insight and accuracy means that they don't need to try and sell that outcome to whoever's sitting in the meeting as much. They can be more accurate, right?
Exactly, and that's from a user point of view exactly what we wanted to kind of has an outcome for Rocket Phone. You are sold, and your skill set is on talking to people. That's what you do
Yeah.
best. You talk to people, and you foster relationships, and you're charismatic, and you can talk. So why are we allowing so much of your time to not be doing that? It just
Yeah.
seems uh, baffling. And given fair enough, there's rising wages for BDRs and SDRs. It's an increasingly professional profession, I would say.
Yeah.
But as that spend's going more, you don't want that proportion of that to still be going into admin and non-talking time. So
Absolutely.
if we can just get SDRs, BDRs, focus on the call and just sit back in a relaxed manner and just converse, not having to worry about anything else they have to do during or after, that's going to make much better
Yeah.
human conversations.
Absolutely right. And again, like people will probably say, but Ring Central maybe gives me some transcription, or Aircall gives me some transcription, and these other dialers like transcription's not a huge thing. But when people make that switch from a Ring Central or an Aircall to a more Salesforce centric solution like Rocket Phone, what benefits do they sort of tell you about, or what benefits do they really notice the most?
Well, I'll give you a little anecdote from a demo I did yesterday, and this is from a prospect in recruitment. Now, obviously, anyone in his recruitment, they can get through phone systems quite rapidly. So this
Yeah.
guy's he's had his fair share of experience with all manner of vendors, and his reaction from seeing the demo of Rocket Phone was, I won't do an American accent. He was American, but it was holy shit. Um, so that's reassuring for me. We are building something fundamentally different and new to the market. And then when we got down to it, it was the stuff we were able to do real time during that conversation. So yeah, having a transcript is useful, but actually, what can you do in the moment during the conversation to help the
Mm.
rep? That's where we're focusing a lot of our differentiation, and it's one, having that real time in call guidance to the rep. If there's difficult questions thrown at them, we surface an answer. Or if they're just a new rep and they don't have the knowledge, then we're surfacing it there anyway. They can see that immediately.
Mm.
Um, we have the notion of something called checklist, which is a much smarter way of approaching scripting. So it's not a defined script that you have to follow. It's a bullet pointed list of broader topics that you should be covering in any given
Mm.
context of a conversation, given your role. And as you're talking, you just see them being ticked off as you go through the
Cool.
conversation. So it's that visual cue. I need to be saying this, but I'm not being bogged down with an actual prescribed script because that's distracting
Yeah.
and doesn't work. But I know I've got to cover off these broader topics, and I know that once I do, they'll be ticked off and cleared my plate. So that's automatically done.
Yeah.
Um, so it's making the rep themselves super focused and super efficient on that call as it happens. And then it's what's happening in the background as well. Not even the rep facing is more maybe for management of other teams, but once we're recognizing things being said during that conversation, like I already shared the example, competitor mentions or complaints or product
Yeah.
requests, basically anything that wouldn't necessarily matter to a BDR, or they're not comped on or they're not recognized for. But there's still lots of tidbits of information that are shared during those prospect and customer conversations.
Yeah.
We're logging them, pushing them out to who needs to see them, and actioning them if there's an action attached to it. So yeah, it's making the big black hole of conversations an actual usable and valuable data resource for the enterprise.
Nice. And look, this all sounds amazing. There's loads of AI. There's transcription, real time, helps not only the person making the calls, but feeds. It captures every point of information, so others who then maybe have to be involved with the account can go and find anything they need. Does it all in real time. Like, being honest, like, are there any areas you think Rocket Phone really needs to like improve on against competitors right now?
I think what we get maybe perceived as a weakness is that some will just see Rocket Phone and think, "Oh, you're a phone system,"
Mm.
um, which fair enough. That is an aspect of our features, but it kind of buckets us in a camp. And actually, we're more in if you've got a sales head on, maybe we're in an enablement tool. Um, um, or we're in operations. We're a core piece of architecture, like Salesforce is in some ways. So I think we could do better expressing where we've added value. But the way we get around that, and there's some expectation of Rocket Phone to do some really really advanced stuff in terms of like call routing and full UCAS solution, which is not where we're at. But
Mm.
the position that we put ourselves in is great. You have an existing Avaya, nice Genesis incumbent vendor, which probably took a big team to implement. You've got some incredible routing and skills based rules. You know what? Great. Keep that. You've done a good job. Don't mess that up. We sit on top. We're
Mm.
your conversation insights layer upon that. Um, so telephony, us on top. We make legacy great.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. We make legacy great. We make legacy modern. We modernize it because I think there'd probably be a number of most dialers, or if you get bucketed straight into dialer, people are looking at for like for like. They want to change things that maybe they won't make the difference. Okay, this is smart, but we can kind of hack this together with our current dialer, so we don't want to make a big shift. But what you're saying is, well, just take the really intelligent thing that makes us so useful and have such a good impact on your sales team. So lay that in on top then, and you'll get all the benefits without really changing how the team work in the sense of like the tool they use. But they're suddenly going to see much greater insight in their CRM, right?
Yeah, it's like putting a V12 engine in a classic Mini. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but yeah, it's legacy doesn't mean bad. It just means that's it's not been innovated since, but it still
Mm.
works. It's highly functional, and in fact, in some ways, we would never want to touch that because it is so good at what they do. We
Mm-hmm.
want to specialize in what we do, which
Yeah.
is conversation, automation, orchestration, insights on top of that. Um, and in fact, that's been a core of our mindset when building Rocket Phone, the platform.
Yeah.
Is we want to make it completely agnostic, so it is simple, plug and play engineering, API calls, whatever vendor you have, great, use it. We'll sit on top, and it's incredibly useful when you have a larger company which may have several different dialer or telephony solutions. Maybe
Exactly.
per team or even per country, that you think, oh my god, what a project we're going to have to do. We know we want to overhaul, but oh my god, what are we going to do? Fine, keep everything in place. You don't have to aggregate at the bottom. Just put one layer on top that all feeds into, and let us take care of that. All feed into us. We feed into Salesforce. Clean, measurable, accurate, actionable data.
Yeah.
And I think that's our big play when we move to enterprise.
Amazingly beneficial to, like say, global teams, enterprise teams, agencies who have different teams in different regions, especially now with sort of, we see the changes in legislation, the changes from country to country, people constantly asking about local numbers, different, like, do I have to register an office? Can you give me a local number? Different dialers approach that in different ways. So teams, enterprise teams in particular, are ending up with 3 or 4 different dialers across 3 or 4 different teams. And you can help unify all of that to one place, which is where I haven't really seen many competitors or other tools doing that in the same way. That said, is there a massive price tag then to something so powerful compared to an air call or compared to a cloud talk or anything? Or how are you priced?
Um, very, very competitively. I know full well that once you, to achieve feature parity of what we are able to do, if you take Aircall, for example, you'll need at least 2 of their add-on bundles on top of their advanced or premium license, which puts it very pricey, and I'm happy to say more expensive than us. And then, of course, in this situation where we're talking about integrating with your existing telephony system, then we remove our telephony costs from that license equation as well. So actually, there could be a cost saving for you when you implement something like Rocket Phone as well. But on the topic of regulation, I just want to take this opportunity to
Yeah.
tell the audience, it's not us as dialers, it's the law. We can't decide who gets numbers. If you're not based in that country, odds are you're not getting a phone number. That's my piece.
Nice. I like it. On that subject, I have seen certain dialers provide numbers to their customers because everyone can build that functionality on the back end. But the interpretation of some laws seems to be, some companies are willing to take a little bit more risk in, so they'll get, they might give you a number for Germany, Denmark, South Africa. Others might say, no, you actually need to sort out an office debt or a desk over there, or an employee registered there, or an entire office there. And I think people should probably lean, if they are concerned about GDPR, which we've seen most companies over the last 5 years have been, well, then they should probably also be concerned about anyone who says, yeah, sure, like you can just create a number on the back end, just show a passport. Like, well, okay, but like just go and do your own research and double check what is the local legislation, and then challenge any provider that says they can give you a number.
And we've got a great tool at our fingertips to do that double check. Literally put all your country requirements in GPT and say, what are the requirements for obtaining a number in these countries? And that will tell you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no excuse for getting it wrong these days.
No. And you're right to say that I think some vendors are able to get hold of them, possibly if they themselves have a presence in that country, so they can kind of get around it. But it's certainly in the grey to murky domain we're operating there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you never want to get on the wrong side of telco regulators, because they could feasibly, well, worst case, fine you. I'm not sure on the legal aspects of what they could do in terms of imprisonment, but that's probably extreme, but certainly fining. And at the worst, even at the most basic level, you're just getting rid of a number that could be quite damaging if suddenly none of your numbers work. So play it safe, play it sensible.
Yeah, exactly. And again, with that, it's another good reason or a good way in which you can help with that. If that does what we've just described around legislation, different regions, if that does mean that someone has to maybe use, maybe they use Cloud Talk in France or Scandinavia, but then they have a phone burner or front spin out in the States, and they've got that across 2-3 different teams. Those are great tools. They're good for their purposes. Rocket Phone is still a great option to explore, to unify how notes are taken, the insights that's put in, all the triggers that come off of that, so that the marketing team, the customer success team, SDR leadership, they have a nice unified view no matter what team they're looking at and working with, which then helps to raise standards, hold people to account.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the biggest gripes sometimes you have in when you go up organizations, it's data mess, data inaccuracy,
Yeah,
data duplication, data confusion, which basically makes all the investments you've made completely worthless. So take the time to use a consolidation tool like Rocket Phone to pull all of that into, as we said, actionable, usable data inside your CRM of choice.
excellent. Actionable, usable data from whatever phone systems and every customer conversation. Great example. Great to see what you guys are doing over there, and I can't wait to see some of the new AI features that are coming out. I know some of the stuff you're working on, but I don't know what I can and can't say, so I'll let you add on to that. But it's been a pleasure having you on, Sam. And yeah, look forward to seeing all the new feature updates.
Yeah, anytime, James, and thanks again.
Excellent. You have a good week, everyone.